Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 7 o'clock main news. In tonight's headlines. Under the patronage of His Highness the Prime Minister, the Minister of Information and Minister of State for Youth Affairs inaugurates the 12th Arab Media Forum. The UN Security Council expresses concern over the deterioration of the Syria humanitarian situation and calls for an immediate end to the war. The Iraqi president calls for national unity among all Iraqis to end ISIL militants' violence. And at least 970 people are known to have died in a powerful earthquake in Nepal, with many more feared trapped under rubble. Under the patronage of His Highness Sheikh Jabir al-Mubarak al-Hamad al-Sabah, the Prime Minister, the Minister of Information and Minister of State for Youth Affairs Sheikh Salman Sabah Sam al-Mahmoud al-Sabah inaugurated today the 12th Arab Media Forum at the Regency Hotel. At the outset of the three-day event, Sheikh Salman al-Mahmoud delivered a speech where he affirmed the necessity of cooperation among officials and youth sectors, as well as establishing the concept of constructive dialogue in all daily activities and communications. The Minister added that the state's higher political leadership believes in the significance of youth dialogue and its role in achieving development and social stability, clarifying that these objectives will be embodied through the directives of the Ministry of Youth and Sports that open dialogue channels of the highest levels with the youth and held various dialogue forums among the youth and different state bodies in order to refine the talent of national dialogue and enlightened thought. The Minister of Information and Minister of State for Youth Affairs Sheikh Salman Sabah Sam al-Mahmoud al-Sabah said taking part in the Expo Milano 2015 will highlight the state of Kuwait's civilizational and humanitarian achievements. The Minister said in a statement to Kuwait news agency that Kuwait's participation in the event comes upon the approval of His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah al-Ahmed al-Jabir al-Sabah, and in response to an invitation from His Excellency the President of the Italian Republic. The global event, themed Feeding the Planet, Energy for Life, will be held from May 1st to October 31st with 145 countries and representatives of dozens of multinational organizations taking part. Sheikh Salman al-Mahmoud said the expo is expected to attract up to 20 million visitors, noting that this huge attendance provides a rare opportunity for delivering Kuwait's humanitarian and civilizational message. The Minister expressed gratitude to His Highness Sheikh Jabir al-Mubarak al-Hamad al-Sabah, the Prime Minister, for patronizing Kuwait's mission to the exhibition. He also pointed out that the Higher Constituent Committee set up by the Ministry of Information in December 2012 and backed by the Cabinet made remarkable efforts over the last 3 years in preparing for the Kuwaiti participation. Sheikh Salman al-Mahmoud said Kuwait's civilized role in backing up the relief efforts and the quest for sustainable development on the regional and international levels won praise worldwide, a matter approved by the UN honouring of His Highness the Emir as a humanitarian leader and of Kuwait as a humanitarian centre. The Minister of Information and Minister of State for Youth Affairs noted that the delegation of Kuwait National Council for Culture, Arts and Letters aims to provide visitors of the country's pavilion with a synopsis of Kuwait's cultural heritage and notable works of art. Finally, Sheikh Salman al-Mahmoud called on the private sector companies and non-profit societies to take part in the pavilion and also invited Kuwaitis and Arab tourists in Europe to visit it. Minister of Information and Minister of State for Youth Affairs Sheikh Salman Sabah Sam al-Mahmoud al-Sabah received Bahrain's Minister of Information Affairs Isa bin Abdul Rahman al-Hamadi on the occasion of the Arab Media Forum's 12th session. Noor Irhan al-Elfi has more in this report.
On the occasion of the Arab Media Forum's 12th session, which is under sponsorship of His Highness the Prime Minister Sheikh Jabir al-Mubarak al-Hamad al-Sabah.
It is a pleasure to be here in Kuwait and to take part in this forum. It is very important forum for us, and it is a platform where we can exchange views and also become familiar with the latest trends and methodologies as well used in the field of the communications by having the activists and the social media domain as well and the youth in this forum that will give us as a decision makers and a golden opportunity for us to hear from them and to exchange the views with them, and also that will help us in making the right decision in terms of our policies and plans as well, in order to make sure that whatever we provide to them through our traditional media channels and as well the emerging new media channels, that will be applicable to them and they will be receptive to what we offer.
Meanwhile, themes of the forum will tackle electronic communications, and the meeting will group a large number of experts. Affiliated seminars will deal with various issues, namely youth dialogue. The inaugural sessions will be marked with statements by the Minister of Information, Minister of State for Youth Affairs, Sheikh Salman al-Hamoud al-Sabah, Envoy of the United Nations, Chief for Humanitarian Affairs, Dr. Abdullah al-Ma'tuq, with emphasis on reasons that led the United Nations designation of His Highness the Emir as a humanitarian leader and Kuwait as a humanitarian center. The reception was full of warm greetings and hospitality in order to maintain solid and historical relations between Kuwait and Bahrain, which was always bestowed by His Highness the Emir and Bahraini King. From Al Amiri Airport, I am Nurhan Alfi reporting for the English News.
Yemeni President Abdurrabbu Mansour Hadi expressed gratitude to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and all coalition states for the successful accomplishment of Operation Decisive Storm. The official Saudi press agency quoted President Hadi today as he emerged from a meeting in Riyadh with the Deputy Crown Prince, His Royal Highness Prince Mohammed bin Naif bin Abdulaziz, also Second Deputy Premier and Minister of Interior, as expressing gratitude on behalf of the Yemeni people for the Saudi-led coalition, particularly for responding to his appeal to launch the Revival of Hope operation. He also praised keenness of the custodian of the two holy mosques, King Salman bin Abdulaziz, in supporting the Yemeni people during their crisis, and also for his order to earmark $274 million for humanitarian and relief operations for the Yemeni people. Iraqi President Fuad Massoum said today that the fierce war launched by Iraq against ISIL militants needs national unity from all Iraqis. He also urged all political powers to exploit the spirit of the national unity shown in receiving displaced Iraqis to achieve national reconciliation, stressing that victories over ISIL creates an appropriate atmosphere for this reconciliation. Also today, the Iraqi government announced a new offensive this month to recapture parts of Anbar from ISIL militants in an attempt to build on an earlier victory against the group in the central city of Tikrit. But the hardline militants struck back by attacking Ramadi, the provincial capital of Anbar, prompting thousands of families to flee. They also hit Beji, Iraq's largest refinery, last week. Late yesterday, the insurgents attacked the security perimeter at Al Thirthar Dam with explosives-laden vehicles and then battled army forces in clashes that continued today, and dozens of Iraqi troops were killed in the fighting. Army sources said 2 senior officers were among the dead. 3 suicide car bombs exploded at a border crossing between Iraq and Jordan today, killing 4 soldiers. ISIL claimed responsibility for the attack in a video, saying it targeted a government complex, control point for the border crossing and army patrol. A Jordanian official said his government responded by stepping up security measures at the Turabil crossing, while an Iraqi Defense Ministry spokesman said Baghdad would investigate the assault. Turabil is the only border crossing between the 2 neighbouring countries and is in a remote desert area and leads to Iraq's Anbar province. The UN Security Council has expressed concern over the deterioration of Syria's humanitarian situation and appealed to all parties to put an end to the war immediately. The appeal was made in a presidential statement adopted by the Council on Friday. The statement says that the Syrian crisis has become the world's largest humanitarian crisis, which is not only threatening peace and security in the region, but also spilling over to neighbouring countries, displacing millions of Syrians. The Security Council urged all parties to address the spillover of the Syrian conflict into neighbouring countries and called for coordinated international support for those countries that host Syrian refugees. The Council further urged donors and international financial institutions to extend support to countries affected by the conflict. Israeli soldiers shot dead 17-year-old Ali Abu Ghannam from Al-Tur neighborhood in East Jerusalem late last night as he was with his sister near Al-Zaim checkpoint in eastern Jerusalem. Israeli authorities claimed that he attacked them, but witnesses confirmed he was murdered in cold blood. More on the following report by Fatma Abdul Karim from Ramallah.
Soldiers shot dead 17-year-old Ali Abu Ghannam from Al-Tur neighborhood in East Jerusalem late last night as he was with his sister near Al-Zaim checkpoint, eastern Jerusalem. Israeli authorities claimed he attacked them, but witnesses confirmed he was murdered with cold blood.
The young man had come here to Al-Zaim checkpoint. The soldiers shot him without any reason or attack or anything at all. They simply shot him, according to what witnesses told us.
The Israeli authorities still refrain from returning the martyr's bodies to his grieving family to bury him, keeping them suffering in agony.
He was responsible for our household. I asked Ali for everything. He used to bring me everything. He used to take me to my parents' home.
The martyr's family requested an autopsy and the burial of their son. But the Israeli authorities are still negotiating imposing their own terms on the family, like limiting the number of attendees and secretly determining the place and time of burial.
They asked what would be the guarantee to hold a funeral without clashes breaking out with the soldiers. I told him there is only one way to do that, which is for all your soldiers to pull out and stand out of your way. Otherwise, your provocation will lead to a massacre.
Israel has been using the policy of withholding martyrs' bodies as a collective punishment against Palestinians, besides home demolition threats. With the increased military restrictions, Palestinians are accusing Israel of rising the levels of tension across the West Bank and Jerusalem and pushing them farther away from peace and stability. Fatma Abdul Karim, State of Kuwait Television, Ramallah, Palestine.
Authorities said that a 7.8 magnitude earthquake centered less than 50 miles from Kathmandu rocked Nepal today with devastating force, killing at least 970 people, with more feared dead in Nepal's capital city. A collapse in communications hampered relief efforts, raising fears of a humanitarian disaster across the impoverished Himalayan nation of 28 million people. Hiba Abdurrahman has more details in the following report.
Officials said today that more than 700 people are known to have died in a powerful earthquake in Nepal, with many more feared trapped under rubble. A Home Ministry official said that the death toll had reached 758 in Nepal. A further 34 fatalities were reported in northern India and one in Bangladesh. The quake was shallow in depth, intensifying its destructive force. The U.S. Geological Survey said that the 7.8 magnitude quake struck an area between the capital, Kathmandu, and the city of Pokhara. Tremors were felt across the region, with further loss of life in India, Bangladesh, and Mount Everest. A tourism official said at least 8 people were killed when an avalanche unleashed by the earthquake swept through the Everest base camp for climbers of the world's highest mountain. The government has declared a state of emergency in the affected areas. Nepali Information Minister said that there had been massive damage at the epicenter, from where little information is emerging. Rescuers are digging through the rubble of collapsed buildings in the capital, trying to reach survivors. A number of historic buildings have been destroyed. Among those wrecked was the landmark Darahara Tower, with many feared trapped in its ruins. After the earthquake struck, frightened residents came out into the streets as mobile phones and other communications have been disturbed. Residents in the neighborhood of Kathmandu had fled their homes after the initial earthquake and a series of strong aftershocks. In China, hundreds of soldiers belonging to the Singhet military garrison rushed to the border to help with the rescue. Around 300,000 foreign tourists were estimated to be in Nepal for the spring trekking and climbing season, and officials were overwhelmed by calls of concerned friends and relatives. A landlocked nation sandwiched between India and China, popular with adventure tourists, Nepal had had its share of natural disasters. Its worst earthquake in the year 1934 killed more than 8,500 people.
Pakistan's Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif led condemnation of the killing of leading human rights activist Sabeen Mahmood, who was shot dead in Karachi. Sabeen Mahmood is a director of the charity The Second Floor, also known as T2F. A statement from the Prime Minister's office expressed condolences and ordered an immediate investigation. Her killing came hours after she was hosting a talk on the Pakistani Army's alleged involvement in the torture and killing of political activists in the rest of Baluchistan province. No group has yet claimed responsibility for the attack. The Kuwait Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the Singapore Business Federation organised a seminar to promote business opportunities in both countries. The Vice President of the Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Abdul Wahab Al-Wazzan, said that there is a need to exert more effort to increase cooperation with Singapore in the areas of joint investments and trade, especially with the availability of huge financial liquidity of the Kuwaiti sector. Here is more on the event in this report by our correspondent Salim Al-Kindari.
Kuwait Chamber of Commerce and Industry received the visiting Singapore Business Federation, headed by Singapore Second Minister for Foreign Affairs and Second Minister for Home Affairs, Masaugas Zulkifli.
This is my first official visit to Kuwait, and this is to celebrate 30 years of bilateral relationship with Kuwait and to also move the relationship forward. There's a lot of potential between both our countries. We are similar in the size of our population and the potential for Kuwait to be a business hub for Singapore companies for the region, as well as Singapore to be a business hub for the region. And with the enactment of the GCC Singapore FTA, it will provide advantage to both countries, businesses in both countries, to do businesses in all these regions, both in Singapore and ASEAN, as well as in Kuwait and the GCC, with a cost advantage that we should all take advantage of.
Meanwhile, Vice President of Kuwait Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Abdul Wahab Al-Wazzan, stressed on the importance to boost furthermore trade with Singapore.
We are really pleased to receive a big delegation from Singapore. This delegation is really coming to make a base in Kuwait here, and the second visit is going to be to Al-Basra. I believe Singaporeans are very serious in business. They have the highest income per person, and at the same time they have the most advanced and the quality of services in seaport or in airlines, and I believe they are the center of financial center. They are the financial center and the real financial center, and also the trade center of the world. They are almost first in everything.
Both Kuwait and Singapore enjoy strong and developed relations on all fronts, and this meeting was a positive opportunity for both sides to strengthen furthermore mutual ties. Kuwait Chamber of Commerce and Industry had organized this event in welcoming the business delegation from Singapore. Both sides were seeking opportunities and chances to develop furthermore the business between Kuwait and Singapore. From Kuwait Chamber of Commerce and Industry, this is Salim Al-Kindari reporting for the English News.
European finance ministers gathered today in the Latvian capital Riga following yesterday's heated discussions on Greece's economic reforms. Speaking before talks resumed, Eurogroup President Göran Dijsselbloem said he hoped yesterday's critical debate on Greece's debt future would add extra urgency to the process. French Finance Minister Michel Sapin said there was a no plan B and that all leaders had a commitment to keeping Greece in the Eurozone. Eurozone Finance Minister Pierre Moscovici said that time is running out for Greece, adding that some leaders expressed annoyance at how long discussions were taking. Greece had an end of April date to agree to more reforms in exchange for €7.2 billion in rescue money its European creditors set aside. The technical supervision at the Private Education Administration organised its annual exhibition with the participation of students from many private and government schools throughout Kuwait. The three-day event included more than 90 paintings under the title The Heritage of the Arab States and witnessed a huge audience who enjoyed the topic. Hiba Abdurrahman was there and has this report.
Under the title Kuwait and the Heritage of the Nations, the Avenues Mall hosted the annual exhibition organized by the Technical Supervision at the Private Education Administration. The exhibition came under the patronage of National Assembly Speaker Marzouk Ali Al-Ghanem and was attended by a number of members of Parliament.
We organize this exhibition every year with different private and government schools in Kuwait. This year the exhibition holds the title Kuwait and Heritage of Nations. The exhibition still for 3 days.
We took the idea of our showing from many culture for many different countries. And we have here more than 90 viewing from our school students.
The exhibition lasted for 3 days and witnessed the participation of the students from different schools, whether from the private or the government sectors. The technical supervision at the Private Education Administration used to organize such exhibitions every year, as their previous event was also hosted by the Avenues Mall, but held the title The Constitution of the State of Kuwait. With the title Kuwait and the Heritage of Nations, the Administration of Private Education in Kuwait continues its creativity and support for the talents and chose this distinguished place for the 3rd year in a row. From the Avenues Mall, I am Hiba Abdurrahman reporting for English News.
For a chance to see our reports again, please visit our YouTube channel at MOI Kuwait News. And to recap tonight's news, here are the headlines once again. Under the patronage of His Highness the Prime Minister, the Minister of Information and Minister of State for Youth Affairs inaugurates the 12th Arab Media Forum. The UN Security Council expresses concern of the deterioration of the Syria humanitarian situation and calls for an immediate end to the war. The Iraqi president calls for national unity among all Iraqis to end ISIL militants' violence. And at least 970 people are known to have died in a powerful earthquake in Nepal, with many more feared trapped under the rubble. Thank you for joining us.